So I don't know if I'm ready for this video or not. This may be premature. A lot of my videos probably are, but sometimes I get an idea for like a topic of discussion and I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. So this one though is taking control of my life. I would say that I have spent most of my life a victim of circumstance to some degree. There were times, of course, when I did make decisions to do something, or like when I went to college in 1994, that was my decision. But I wouldn't necessarily say that I had control of my life in that situation. That it was, and when I say that I didn't have control, it's like I was doing something and I didn't really know why I was doing it. It was more like I just kind of threw my hands up in the air, and it was like that was the suggestion of a guidance counselor, and I thought, well, that sounds like the best thing. But I didn't really look for other options. So that I wouldn't call that a victim of circumstance, but it was still kind of not really being the one behind the wheel, so to speak. And that's kind of where I'm at now, where I feel like more I am slowly putting my hands on the wheel and saying, wait a minute, I'm never going to get to where I want to be if I don't start driving this car. And I don't mean that in like the anti-Christ kind of way where I'm like, I don't want Jesus helping me. But it is more like, I ended up here where I'm at now. I am in a parking lot. This is, there's another tractor trailer parked beside me, another tractor trailer. I'm not in a tractor trailer. And then there's, of course, there's my bus. And I'm in the van. I'm in a parking lot, kind of off the side of the highway, which is not really where I ever imagined I would end up in life. I'm not surprised that I'm here. I am not surprised one bit. I'm a little bit surprised that I didn't end up completely homeless or end up a junkie or end up dead from suicide or drug overdose. I'm surprised about that. But there has been a lot of idleness in my life, a lot of not making decisions, just being like, just kind of throwing my hands up in the air and be like, whatever, whatever's in front of me, I'll just accept that. Which is kind of what I did when I went to NC State in 1994. Like I said, I was talking to a guidance counselor who asked me, like, what are you going to do when you leave here? The high school. This was a high school guidance counselor. And I said, I don't know. I said, I think I said something like, I think I'll go to college, which seemed like the obvious choice, right? That's what all the smart kids were doing. And I was grouped with the smart kids, so... and I knew I didn't want to be working at at that time I was working at a place called Roses. I don't know if I think Roses is still, the company still exists, but I don't know how they're doing, because that one that I worked at got shut down. Maybe it was just that location. I know there's a Roses right over here. So that is the only one I know of in existence. But I knew I didn't want to be working at Roses for the rest of my life. So I figured college would be good. The guidance counselor said, well, what are you good at? I said, science and math. Those are my, I can ace a science or math exam without studying, Things like English I was bad at. I was in the smart kid classes, but when it came to English, I was with the dumb kids. I don't know what it is about English. English just doesn't make sense to me. Uh, I was better at Latin than I was at English, but anyways, so she suggested. She said, "Why don't you get a degree as a chemical engineer? You'll make $200,000 a year when you graduate, uh, or not when you graduate, but after you graduate and you get a job, you'll make 200,000 a year." This was back in 1994. I'm in right now. This is 2022, so that was 28 years ago. Is that right? Was it 28 years ago? Or was it 18 years ago? I can't see that. Here, I'm talking about I could ace a math exam. I can't even do this simple math anymore. I blame it on the sleep deprivation. Let's see, 94 plus 8 would be 2002. Yep. So it would be 28 years. Wow. It just doesn't seem that long. 28 years since I graduated high school. Holy crap. Oh my god. 28 years since I graduated high school, and I'm living in a van and a bus in a parking lot off the side of Interstate 85. Oh me. How is that for not taking control of my life? But yeah, so I went to NC State, just kind of for that reason. So she's like, you get 200,000 a year when you graduate. But I didn't even know what chemical engineers did. I still to this day do not know what a chemical engineer's job is. I imagine they're engineering chemical products, but like I don't know, do they just experiment? Do they go to a lab and just throw shit together and see what happens? Do they say, I want to create a polymer and I think I'll use, I don't know what they do. I don't know if they make pills. I don't know if they make fabric material type stuff like what are these things people use like Kevlar and the anti-stick stuff in pans. I don't know if was that a chemical engineer that made that, or was that just some guy who had an accident in his workshop and accidentally made Kevlar and was like, "Ooh, this stuff is useful." I don't know. So that's kind of what I'm getting at where I say like I don't really know why. I mean, the reason was the 200,000 a year, but that was it. It's like I'm committing 4 years of my life basically to something that I expect will make me 200,000 a year. And is that a worthwhile reason? Is there not another job that I could do that would earn me that same amount of money? It was just like I just kind of like, okay, all right, whatever. And of course, the problem that I had with that was that I was kind of like not really interested in that. When I say I was not really interested in that, I was already at that age. I was already kind of anti-materialistic. I was kind of anti social status through material possession. I was like, I kind of felt like when I moved in with my dad and his second wife in the late 80s, I think, or maybe mid 80s, maybe like 86. No, it was about 84. 1984. That sounds about right. Yeah. And then by 1990, I think it was, she was gone. She left, his second wife, and I was not given an explanation by her or from her, and the only explanation that I got was kind of secondhand information, and that was that she didn't like the kind of, you might say, the lifestyle. She wanted she didn't want to live in a mobile home. She wanted to live in a brick house and that kind of thing. I don't think it was brick house was, necessarily the condition, but like a nice house, you know. So the house we lived in was not. It wasn't like a single wide trailer. It was a double wide, where they had. My dad had taken like a brick. He'd put a brick skirt around the bottom of the trailer so you couldn't see the wheels and all that stuff. And it looked like an actual house. Besides the fact that it had that kind of just cheap rectangular shape that all mobile homes have. It was not a. It was not a. I wouldn't describe it as a nice house. Even as a kid, I remember getting off the school bus one day, and when I got off the bus, I waited at the house across the street, which was a nice brick house, and until the bus left, and then I went to my house because I was embarrassed for people to see me going to the trailer, the double wide. So, but she left for that reason. I would not have left for that reason. I would not have abandoned my family for that reason. But she did. And so that made me a little bit anti-materialistic. It made me feel like, relationships are more important than things like 200,000 a year. Like when I met my friend in Atlanta in 2016, we went to New York City together, and we were sleeping in her car for like we were there for like maybe a week, and so for like 4 out of the 7 days, something like that, we were sleeping in her car. The rest of the time we were sleeping at one of her friend's house. But I enjoyed that experience more than like staying in a nice house. It's starting to rain. Just because, it was like she was with me, I was with her. At that point, I don't know if I would even call her my friend yet. It was a little bit like we were kind of just getting to know each other, but we were already I already felt like there was something established there. And, I feel like I'm getting off topic here, but, yeah, I enjoyed that. That was one of the more memorable experiences of my life, and it was because of her. Because I don't want to say like she was doing the right things, but it was just like that kind of feeling of like bonding. That we were going through things together, that kind of thing. That was what made it kind of worthwhile, made it valuable, I think is probably the better way to put it. And to me, would I rather be making 200,000 a year? Right now, I would be. Right now, I'd probably, if I could exchange that experience for 200,000 a year, though, I don't think that I would. I think I'd rather have that experience and then make the 200,000 a year later or before or whatever. But I really wouldn't want to give that experience up. But my point was I became anti-materialistic. That's what I was getting at. That especially once I got to college and I started using drugs, and it kind of irks me when people say drugs and alcohol. I do the same thing. I sometimes say drugs and alcohol, but alcohol is a drug. Of course, caffeine is a drug too, and here I am drinking my QT coffee. When I see QT, I think Quick Time, not Quick Trip, but yeah, drugs made me I became more spiritual than material through my drug use, if that makes me. Maybe I should say it's more spiritualist and less materialist from using drugs, because I felt like what the drugs made me kind of realize was that my inner state was kind of more it's like, you have to clean. You don't have to clean your house, but some people kind of feel like they have to clean their house if they want to not feel stressed out and not feel kind of like they're in a bad place. They want to clean their house and organize it and that kind of thing. Well, that's kind of what drugs made me realize about the inside. It was like I can't. It's like my insides are, in some ways, the more valuable. Like if you think of like my insides as a house, the house on my inside is more valuable than the house on my outside, I guess. If that makes sense. Like I could be living in a palace, sleeping on like the most comfortable pillows and mattresses, but if my insides are not in a good place, then I'm not going to get any rest. Sleeping on that these fine products. So what I'm getting at is that the whole thing of chemical engineering, the whole thing of making 200,000 a year, I just lost interest. I just felt like I was not pursuing what was important in life. I felt like there was something more important than making 200,000 a year. I don't entirely feel the same way now, and that is because I'm still not pursuing what is important. Being poor, like I'm still not going after kind of the things that I want to go after, and a lot of times it's because I'm pursuing just trying to take care of myself. Like just taking care of myself is a full-time job, and I feel like it shouldn't be. I feel like if I were making 200,000 a year, let's say I'm working 40 hours a week and I make 200,000 a year, I don't need to worry about, how am I going to get to work tomorrow? That kind of thing. Do I have enough gas to get to work tomorrow? What do I need to sell so that I can get to work tomorrow? That kind of thing. And like since I've moved into this van and the bus, I don't stay in them. These two together are my house. I'll put it that way. I don't really stay in them. Because I'm kind of all over the place because they are mobile. I drive the van. Like I was just at my storage unit. Anyways, I've already forgotten my point that I was trying to get at. Did I have a point? I probably didn't even have a point. But anyways, my battery is running low. Are you not charging? Please tell me you're charging. But it just kind of went on that way for years. After I got out of college, like I went and got a job at a warehouse just because I think like I came back from college to Salisbury. At that point, my dad had already remarried, and him and his third wife were now living in Salisbury, and so I went back there, and I think I lived with them for a little bit. And I got a job at the food line distribution center, and that was another situation where it was like, I'm not doing this because I want to do it. I'm doing it because I need a job, and because I need food and that kind of thing. And this is just kind of what's kind of like readily available. It was kind of like I don't want to work at a gas station. I don't want to work at a grocery store. I don't want to work at, I think Walmart was